Manager. Bert, you were telling me one of the keys to successful portfolio management is something called pattern recognition. Can you tell me more about what that is and how that works? How do you develop that skill?
I think developing the skill is just doing it. Okay, I mean you can't read a book and it'll tell you how to do that. Or if there are such books, I doubt that they're much more than basic common sense. Okay, I'm looking to see a pattern that happened in the past repeat itself again and again and again. If you think about it, a doctor goes to medical school. What does he learn in medical school? That's exactly what he does learn in medical school, is to recognize the symptoms of a disease. It presents the same way time and time and time again. I'm trying to do the same thing for companies, basically. Does this company have the same pattern of success or failure as something I've seen in the past? Okay, so yes, it implies that you know something about what happened, and it's not like a unidimensional buy, sell, or hold. People who look at that level are almost doomed never to, on the long term. It's like going to a casino. You're never going to win if you play the game often enough. Let me give you an example.
Sure.
In 2004, 2005, solutions called business intelligence were all the rage. You couldn't offer a company a total package if you weren't able to provide them with report writers, dashboards, the ability to organize data. There were very hot companies called Business Objects and Cognos and many companies. Okay, Actuate. More than that. Over time, they all got eaten up. They got eaten up in the Hyperion, got bought by Oracle. Business Objects got bought by SAP, Cognos got bought by IBM, and eventually Actuate got bought by OpenText. Now, the descendant of business intelligence today is not a growth area. Everybody who needs core BI, if you will, has had it for many years. It's one of the reasons why IBM's software business doesn't work, is because Cognos isn't growing, it's shrinking. They don't know how to fix that. So what's the descendant of business intelligence? Well, okay, you tell me. I'm asking our listeners and subscribers to think for themselves in this regard, and they'll tell me advanced analytics. Okay, everybody today, is very interested in what is called artificial intelligence, deep learning. It's the descendant of business intelligence.
Okay.
And
machine learning, yeah.
Yeah,
machine learning, data science,
yeah,
artificial intelligence.
So what you want to know are who the key players in that space are. Alteryx, which is one of the names I recommend, is clearly got the leading platform today in geospatial relationships and in predictive analytics.
How did you find that via pattern recognition?
I followed all those companies for a number of years, so when I mean, the dollars had to go somewhere, okay? When you say, how did I find it? When I started seeing, artificial intelligence has been talked about, I hesitate to say this before the audience, but I first knew about artificial intelligence over 60 years ago, okay? Everybody has wanted it. It's what computing is supposed to be all about. It's supposed to make decisions that you couldn't figure out how to make on your own because the human brain just doesn't work that way. It doesn't have that many connection points. You can believe it or not, and probably some of the listeners are not going to believe it, but that's true. That 65 years ago, when I first became familiar with computing, yes, 65 years ago, it was the holy grail then. When I went to college and I learned econometrics, okay, which is the way people forecast the economy. What do you think it's about? It's basically multiple linear regression, and multiple linear regression is the way you do artificial intelligence. Story to tell you. Back in my time, I was trying to build a model to forecast capital spending. Computers of those years, talking the mid-1960s, were so primitive that the best I could do was a model with 63 variables. That's all you could, that was, it was very difficult because you had to input the formulas by punch cards.
Wow.
And today, people with desktops can try multiple linear regression with tens of thousands of variables if they want. Notice they still don't get it right all the time, but we've now reached a point with Alteryx, Salesforce, IBM, Watson, where you do get reasonable answers. The answers that you can get from AI-derived deep learning are better than you're going to be able to do on your own, okay? 5 years, they'll be better still. But all I'm saying is 10, 12 years ago, if a company didn't have a dashboard, you know what a dashboard means? I don't mean the kind in your car.
It's like a way to see all their data in one shot easily for a person with their vision.
Yeah. A dozen years ago, if you didn't have that, you weren't managing properly. Today, if you aren't starting on a project or multiple projects to improve your decision making based on AI, you're going to have problems.
So like the dashboard is more a thing of the past, and now it's about AI.
Yes.
To make decisions. Because what you could figure out with your own head is not as good as the computer can spit out with many variables.
Well, I can't consider or know 10,000 variables simultaneously. None of us can.
Bert's pretty smart, but he's admitting that he's not as smart as a computer, it seems.
I mean, that's why computers can play chess, okay, is they've seen it. Basically, you teach them, you show them all the different moves, and so they're able to see what worked and what didn't work. If you do it long enough, they're going to beat humans 80-90% of the time. And it's no more not. I mean, computers are not necessarily artistic. They don't have flashes of intuition. That's not that's not AI. But if I want to know, for example, here's a real live example. We're all familiar with call centers and CSRs. We probably would like to break the head of a few CSRs, but that's a different...
Customer service reps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone taking your phone call from American Express.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, someone.
Or
T-Mobile, someone like that.
Or in my case, Sprint this morning.
Sprint, yeah.
Just trying to pay a blessed bill.
Yeah.
Okay? Nowadays, the most advanced AI can tell the CSR how to deal with people like myself that are not terribly patient, or people like Jonathan who are terribly polite, or Jonathan's wife who has her own set of characteristics. It's a really big deal because it allows American Express to dramatically enhance the customer experience if they use it properly and gain a competitive advantage. Just as a dozen years ago, having a dashboard provided company managements with a tool that helped them understand where they were. You can do this again and again and again, and you will see that it is a very strong technique. About a dozen years ago again, something called a data appliance came up, okay? If you know Oracle, perhaps you've heard of Exadata, Exalogic, Exadis, Exadat. Many companies developed data appliances. Well, data appliances were nothing more than what we call convergence, okay? And so boxes were made where the processing and the memory were integrated, and they would dramatically improve the performance of when you had external storage. Everybody bought X's or whatever they bought. IBM bought one of the original companies in the field, HP. Everybody decided they needed convergence. But convergence is not as good as hyperconvergence. I mean, why? Because we can get much better performance by virtualizing things so that we're basically we can do 10 or 20 or 30 times the processing at the same time. It's oversimplification, but well, when I heard that VMware and Nutanix had become involved and were the leaders in hyperconvergence, it was relatively straightforward for me to suggest to my clients that this is the next big thing, because I saw what happened with convergence. Now I see what's happening with hyperconvergence.
So you're kind of following the technology waves and trends and wherever, if you see it moving a certain way, there's a company on that train, you go with that.
Yeah,
I get it.
I've done it many times. That doesn't always work. I don't know why it's been so hard for radio frequency ID, RFID, to become broadly accepted.
Maybe because there's a physical cost to it. Maybe like putting tags on products is not as efficient as cameras. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Well, I don't know either.
Yeah.
All I know is that it's a pain in the neck to keep track of inventory using barcodes. And if you've ever had to do that in a retail environment, or on railway cars, or anything else where people use it, or on medical devices, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. For better or for worse, even with the rain technology, and even with the most advanced, AI technology melded in with RFID, it hasn't taken off. And so my thesis with regards
To impinge.
to impinge hasn't worked out. So
Okay.
I want to make clear that this isn't a panacea. It's a method of improving your accuracy.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Bert.